Elio is the Pixar movie that no one is talking about, and it's surprisingly good, but does it recapture that Pixar magic? Well, let's talk about it. But as always, before we get started, if you're new here, my name is Erin and I talk all things movies and TV, but really mostly movies, so if you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. And also, while you're at it, if you like my videos, hit the like button as well. And of course, if you've already seen the movie, let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments. But without further ado, let's talk about Pixar's newest movie, Elio. So Elio is Pixar's 29th film, I believe, and it follows a boy named, well, Elio, of course, and he lives with his aunt and is obsessed with space. And on his search for belonging, he is abducted by aliens and finds some unlikely friends in a home away from home. Jumping right into the good, and the first thing I have here is the story. Now, I wouldn't say the story is anything mind-blowing, but it is a lot better than I thought it would be. At this movie's core, it's really just about a boy who is wanting to find belonging and doesn't want to be alone, and we explore that through this bigger theme of are humans alone in this universe, and I just thought that was a very cool and creative way to approach this story. Elio is a fun character to follow, and even though he doesn't necessarily make it easier on himself when it comes to not being alone and making friends, this movie does explain why he is the way he is, and it's because his parents have passed away, so you do feel for him a little bit. That's why it is a pretty wholesome moment when he finally does make that first friend in Glordon, who is a space slug, I guess I would call it. But Glordon is a very fun character. He's probably my favorite side character in this movie, and he has his own little character arc in this as well. But it's their relationship that really gives this film some substance and some heart. On top of that, there was some good humor in this story as well. It was your typical family-friendly humor, but it will get a couple of chuckles out of you. But the most surprising part about this entire movie is that there are actually a couple of really fun horror sequences that I enjoyed. It was really cool to see Pixar lean into that and have fun with those sequences, because those two sequences kind of turned out to be some of my favorite moments of the film. Next up for the good is the visuals. Now, of course, this is a Pixar movie, so obviously the animation is on point as you expect it to be, but also the visuals in this were just very colorful and vibrant and just really satisfying to look at. Given that this movie goes on this grand adventure into space, it really allowed them to get creative with the animation because they had to create this whole new world outside of our world and bring it to life. On top of this animation just being really detailed, it really wasn't until we got to space where I think the visuals were at their best, because that's when we had that assortment of colors come in and we saw this very creative world be brought to life, and that's where this animation just truly shined. Moving on to the so-so, and the only thing I have here is that to me this movie kind of felt like Pixar was trying to make a Pixar movie, and by that I mean is that this movie hits all of those same Pixar beats but just doesn't do it as well as some of their previous movies. And honestly, this might be kind of unfair for this movie, because if you do remove that Pixar logo from this film, we wouldn't compare it to any of these Pixar movies, and it would just be a really good animated movie for any other studio. But unfortunately, since this does fall under that Pixar banner, there is a standard that Pixar has set because of their previous movies being so dang good. You could tell that Pixar was really trying to recapture that Pixar magic and all that they have in some of their previous films. I mean, we have this main character that they try to build up so we can feel some empathy towards them, and then they go on this big journey and they grow and learn, and that leads to this big breakthrough that usually has a huge emotional moment attached to it. The best way I can put this is that they really did give a valiant effort, and there are a couple of moments in this thing where they almost get you to feel that Pixar magic again, but they couldn't quite reach those heights of like a Coco or an Inside Out or WALL-E or Up for all that matter. To describe it a little bit better, it's almost like when you're reaching out for something and you just can't quite reach far enough to grab that something. That's what this movie felt like for me. It was a good movie, but they couldn't quite reach that Pixar standard that they set for themselves in the late 90s and the 2000s. And I know not every Pixar movie can be a hit and just this amazing movie that blows your mind away, but it did feel like this movie was trying to be one. And finally, getting into the bad, and the only thing I have here is that this movie went through a lot of changes and was reworked a ton from its original story, and you can feel that that at times in this film. This movie was actually supposed to come out in 2024 instead of Inside Out 2, but this movie of course got pushed back to 2025 and Inside Out 2 took that release date instead. I even think the original teaser for this movie came out in 2023, but they pushed it back and made lots of changes, and now it's a very different movie. In the original, Elio was mistakenly abducted from Earth instead of him being obsessed with space and seeking out the aliens. Also, the main villain in this movie wasn't originally supposed to be the villain. It looked like he was going to be a friend of Elio instead. So they made a lot of changes to the story of this movie, and I really think you feel that the most in the first and second act of this thing. The beginning felt a bit choppy, and I don't think this movie really finds itself until Elio met Glordon about halfway through the movie, because that's when the plot really started moving forward. Now look, it still turned out to be a good movie, but you could definitely tell that there were some changes made. So for my final thoughts, this is a good movie. This story is fun and has some nice emotional moments. The visuals are colorful, vibrant, and easy to look at, and even though they can't quite capture that Pixar magic, this is still a surprisingly good movie that I would recommend. Those are my thoughts on Elio. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.